Are you ready for the best damn NFL show on the planet? Man Hour Nation, rise up.
Yeah, hey, let's go. Hitting that gridiron, we going hard, we running the plays. You know the vibe, only the strong survive. Gotta keep your head in the game. Talking NFL, uncut, straight raw. Steady bringing that sauce. We about to take off. Get it hype, this man, our sport talk. Yeah, from the quarterback to the lineman. Everybody bringing heat. You don't really wanna try them. Hey, who gon' win? It's a battle of the giants. This show is the flyest. Nobody can deny it. This is Man Hour. Sport Talk. Man Hour. Sport Talk. What team you reppin'? We keep it interesting. Who caught another down? Who got that interception? This is Man Hour. Sport Talk. Man Hour. Sport Talk. What team you reppin'? We keep it interesting. Who caught another down? Who got that interception?
Let's go. What is up, Man Hour Nation? Michael Blackhouse here with the Man Hour. Short of manhourradio.com. Check out the merchandise page or check out the blog section as well. But most importantly, tonight, share this live stream. Share this with the friends. Share this with your mom. Share this with your grandma. Share this with whoever you want, because sharing is caring at the end of the day. And we all know that we need to love everybody, because in the world that we live in, ELE, everybody love everybody. But there is one person that I don't love. There's one person that makes my skin crawl. There's one person that wants to look like me so bad that he dyed his hair red and shaved his head bald to look exactly just like me. And that is the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. John Freakman Hoffman. What's up, Hoffy?
What's up, Buck? I don't even have a comeback for you. That was a good one.
That was a good one. Hey, man.
Put me in my place.
I love you like a brother and fuck you like a sister each and every week, and I'm glad you're here with me tonight on this NFL Power Ranking show. There's also another guy that we like to welcome to the Toxic Table. This man is 4'7", 218 pounds, soaking wet. Sometimes he smiles and sometimes he jiggles his jingles, and that is the one and only, the NFL expert, Mr. Mark D. What's up, Mark?
What up, Buckmeister? What up, Man Hour? Let's do this. I'm ready.
We are ready. We are all ready, and the Toxic Table is here. My man Hoffy is here. My man Mark D is here. And guys, we're going to buckle up for some NFL Power Rankings, because there's been a shakeup up at the top. There's been a shakeup at the top of the NFL Power Rankings, and spoiler alert, we do have a new number one. Is it the Chiefs? Is it the Lions, or is it the Ravens? Who is the new number one, guys? Are you ready for this? Are you guys ready to talk some NFL Power Rankings talk? Let me know. Oh my God, Laura's in the chat. What's up, Laura? What's up? Everybody in the chat, guys. I've done live streaming all day today, and I'm ready for some energy, guys. So bring that energy, bring that shit talking, because coming in at number 10 right off the bat, making their appearance back to the top 10, that is the Minnesota Vikings, currently sitting at second in the NFC North standings, ranked fifth in the NFC playoff picture, winners of 2 games in a row over the Colts and the Jaguars, sitting at number 2, or number 10 in my NFL Power Rankings. Sorry, I lost train of thought there for a second. Mark, I do have the Minnesota Vikings. They're playing some good football. They're on a 2-game losing streak. They beat a sneakily good Colts team, a Jaguars team that nobody seems to really give any credit to, but they did sneak out. What was it, 6 field goals against them, or 4 field goals, whatever it was. But they sneaked back into the top 10. What are your thoughts?
You know what? This is one that I don't agree with you, Buck. I don't even think they should be on this. I said this last week. Minnesota is fugazi. They're fake. Sam Darnold is finally showing up. What did he have? 3 picks in that game?
He did.
So those Sam Darnold is showing up. And if that continues to show, I don't see the Vikings going much further this season.
Much further as what? Like not even making it to the playoffs, or like
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
No playoffs. I could see them failing down the road. You know, they have a tough division still. So, yeah.
Wow. Not even make the playoffs. Hoffy? Not even making the playoffs like he says. What are your thoughts?
I mean, they're 7-2. Sunday was the first of 3 straight road games for Minnesota, in which, almost every team they play on their schedule remaining outside of the Titans, which have given quarterbacks a hard time. They will be in playoff contention. But I agree with Mark. I don't think they should be in the top 10. I know that's tough to say on a 7-2 team. But at the same time, I don't even think this is the worst 7-2 team that you are going to have on your power ranking. So, not a fan of the Vikings. Sam Darnold has started to look, as Mark said, like Sam Darnold. His passes are, starting to not look so catchable. So we'll see if I wouldn't doubt that they lose to the Titans this week too. Like I said, they have not been playing well at the quarterback position.
Quarterback play or not, Sam Darnold is still leading this team to already 7 wins this season. I had them winning 7 wins total for the whole season, not through the first 10 weeks of the NFL season. And yes, the Titans have given quarterback some fits, whatever. But the simple fact of the matter is Hoffy, that was weird. I just saw a ghost. But they're going to thump the Titans. The Bears playoff
I know
contention.
I'm white, but I'm not that white.
No, it was seriously. I think I saw a ghost. But for you to say the Bears are in playoff contention, somebody get this man a beer quickly. But then the Arizona Cardinals, Falcons, and Bears again, they're going to be tested, and I think they've already been tested, right? They've beaten the 49ers, they've beaten the Texans, they've beaten the Green Bay Packers, and they battled against the Detroit Lions. And they did lose to a Rams team, but freshly come off all those injuries. Guys, stop sleeping on the Minnesota Vikings. And like Laura's like, why? They don't even deserve to be in the top 10. They win it with field goals for a W. Laura, that is positive. They're finding different ways to win. Sam Darnold didn't play his best game, but they still won. Mark, can you not respect the field goal kicker? Do field goal kickers not have souls?
Well, you know what? It's one of those things. They only have one job. If they don't do that one job, then yeah, they're not good. So yeah, granted, yeah, he made some kicks. He came through when they needed him. Sam Darnold didn't help them. I'm just saying, he continues this play, they're not going to be good.
So Hoffy, Mark said field goal kickers have one job, and Deebo Samuel punched his long snapper in the throat for their execution errors.
Hilarious.
Like. You keep talking about how Sam Darnold had 3 interceptions. Laura brings up a great point here. He said those were more JJ's fault than Sam Darnold's fault, and I agree with that. Does Sam Darnold's quarterback play have to improve for them to be a top 10 team, which you do not think they are? How can the Vikings become a top 10 team?
I mean, the record says they're a top 10 team, but overall talent on paper, I just don't consider them a top 10 team. But, we talk about Aaron Donald and him needing to improve. He does. But this team is going to go as Aaron Jones goes. And right now he is going. But at what point is he going to break down? He kind of did it in Green Bay. I just don't see him staying healthy all year. And that is going to be their workhorse. It's not going to be Sam Darnold. It's not going to be Justin Jefferson. Teams are going to shut that down. Come playoff time, cold weather, Aaron Jones is going to be what wins you games. So I do think that they can get by with subpar play from Aaron Jones. But I just think that teams never mind teams outside of their division, but teams in their division, such as the Packers and you have the Lions, it's going to be tough for them to make the playoffs. And if they do, I think they're out in the wild card round.
Yeah, and I can understand why you guys think that, right? When you look at the NFC, it's very, 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 very loaded from top to bottom, right? Like you have the Commanders, you have the Eagles, like you have the Packers, and then you have the Vikings, right? All battling for those wild card spots. And I get it, and I understand. But James Berlin brings up a great point. A W is a W, right?
Truth.
I mean,
yep, I would agree with that.
Okay. I mean, Laura says, listen, I'm not going to take away their wins and stuff, but I don't think they deserve to be there this week. So, Hoffy, you don't think they deserve to be there. Mark, you don't think they deserve to be there. What can the Vikings do, Mark, to get them to deserve that spot?
Well, for me, it's consistency. So if they stay consistent and keep stacking these W's, then yeah, they deserve to be on this power ranking list. But also, like Hoff said, Aaron Jones this team is going to go as far as they'll take him, because I think Justin Jefferson is very inconsistent. He's very good, but also very inconsistent. So if and then I just heard that he's got a rib injury, so he's going to be nagging that all year. So I really hope that doesn't hurt them. So I just feel like if now Sam Darnold starts to falter, Aaron Jones doesn't last long through the season, that could hurt them.
Interesting curse. Derek, my man, Derek's in the chat. He says, "Is the dome a curse?" Do you guys think playing in a dome is a curse for the Minnesota Vikings to win a playoff game? Because I think my man Derek is trying to like say they've been sheltered through the elements all through these games, right? When it's cold outside, they're usually playing down south. When the Vikings do make the playoffs, they would be playing a team like the Philadelphia Eagles or the Washington Commanders or somebody, and they're going to have to travel to a cold weather game. Hoffy, does this affect the Vikings' playoff chances in your mind by being in a dome?
Yeah, I think going from playing in a dome, practicing in a dome. Yes, the one, if you want to call it an advantage, I don't know that I'd call it an advantage, but being in Minnesota, they are living in the cold. But yes, they're playing football. They're practicing all in a dome. But I don't really necessarily buy that. I mean, we've seen teams like the Chiefs. Yes, they get some cold weather, but they've come up to New England and played New England pretty tough. I think the only team that would really suffer is teams like Miami that are living in a sunny and 75-degree weather every day. But this Minnesota team lives in Minnesota. I don't think it gets much worse climate-wise than that.
Yeah, and at some point, Mark, you live in Denver, Colorado. It gets snow. You get cold. At some point, it's just cold, right? About 20 degrees for like me. You can't get really much colder, right, Mark? I mean, like it is what it is, right? Kind of a little bit, maybe, sort of.
Dude, cold. I think cold affects you when you play.
100%.
Like, you're cold. You're cold. It's just how it goes, man. Like,
yeah.
So deep down, I feel like no matter what, like you're gonna be cold. That's just how you are. Like, you got to get over that mentally.
Yeah. And one thing that we did in college and in the CEFL, Vaseline up. It clogs the pores. It keeps the heat in. So we got some more comments rolling in here. Jim Powell, my man Jim Powell's a Pigskin Pundit. Be like Jim, guys. Click on the subscribe button below. Become a Pigskin Pundit. He said, everyone on the field has one job. Does that mean Micah Parsons, DN med, is only good for pass rush? Micah Parsons is not very good. I'm just putting it out there, Jim. Micah Parsons is not very good.
You shitting on your boy?
He can be my boy all you want. How do you beat the Dallas Cowboys defense? Run at Micah Parsons. He's not stopping the damn rush. I'm just saying.
Why must the Cowboys always be mentioned? Like, we haven't even got. They're not in this power rankings. We're not. Why are we talking about Dallas?
Because it's America's team. It's America's team. It's as simple as that.
These are Bucks power rankings. They very well may be top 5.
Hey, they are pretty good. There we go. Get the whole comment there. Laura says the second half JJ didn't touch the ball, and we at least got progress down the field. Just couldn't cross the line for 6. Red zone issues has been for the Minnesota Vikings kind of flaw all season, and JJ not touching the ball, that's going to really hurt his ego because, he wants that 100 C note. He wants those 100 yards each and every game. And we know that once he gets 100 yards, they're going to lose, right? Derek says when they were outside, they rocked. What, they played outside for what, like 2 seasons? What they played at Minnesota Stadium for 2 seasons, I think it was. I don't think they rocked.
When has Minnesota ever
Is he
rocked?
referring to back in the day? Because in the 70s, they played outside all the time.
I didn't know that. Okay, maybe. I'm not that old. Maybe.
Before the Metrodome, I want to say.
It would make sense, right? Casey says, still think Mahomes' helmet breaking last season was crazy due to the cold was crazy. Yeah, listen, I was at that game, the Kansas City Chiefs Miami Dolphins playoff game. I went and got a beer. I was in the concourse, was 12 rows down. My beer froze over like a freaking snow cone. It was stupid cold. It is a stupid cold. And Laura says, JJ is the problem. When I said that, oh, you're a hater. But when Laura, the Vikings fans, say it, everybody agrees. Guys, do you think JJ is the problem for the Minnesota Vikings? Mark?
I do not. I think it's more coaching. You said the red zone is tough for them. Like, yeah, they need to fix that.
Interesting. Okay. But coming in at number 10, guys, we do have the old Minnesota Vikings making their appearance back on to the old power rankings. Coming in at number 9 is a team that is new to the power rankings, a team that has never been here before all season long, a team that is shocking some people, a team that is 6-3 and winners of 4 of their last 5, and that is the one and only LA Chargers. They do have wins over the Denver Broncos at Mile High Stadium, I might add, and then wins over the Saints, Browns, and Titans. Now, many people are saying, oh, they haven't played nobody. This 3-game winning streak is against shit teams. Well, guess what? They are dominating those games. Justin Herbert is being a perfect game manager, or as Jim Harbaugh likes to say, half man, half beast. LA Chargers breaking into number 9. Mark, they did beat your Denver Broncos earlier this season. How do you feel about the Chargers being at number 9?
Jesus Christ.
This one I kind of disagree with also, man. There's 2 teams that I feel like should be on this list. This isn't my list. This is yours. But I wouldn't have put Chargers on the list. I would have put Arizona or the 49ers above them on this list.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, shut your damn mouth, boy. Why would the 49ers be on that list? Hoffy, let's talk about your about your LA team, your Chargers team, number 9. Clearly, you don't like it either, right?
I thought we were talking about my California team. That's the 49ers. That's not the Chargers. CMC's back, baby. Sign us up for a Super Bowl run. You know, Lions are out the door. We're stomping on them Chiefs in the Super Bowl. But to be completely honest with the number 9 Chargers, yeah, like you said, 4 or 5. They have scored between 22 and 27 points in each of their 6 victories this season. They're just allowing 17 or fewer in all of them. However, their offense, even with Herbert, and he's played pretty well of late, they're still in the bottom of the league as far as offense. I know we talk about defense wins championships, but your offense can't be down in the 25 range for yards per game. They're averaging 300 yards per game, 190 yards throwing, and 110 yards on the ground. That's not going to win you games, especially not in the playoffs. So yes, they're on a nice little winning streak, but I don't think that they're in the top 10. I think there's other teams more deserving. I'd even throw the Cardinals before I might even throw in the 49ers. But I just, they're knocking on the door, and I think as are the Vikings. But neither of those 2 teams, I think, should be in the top 10. Their record is kind of, I think, what puts them in the top 10. But if we're going off of, stats, body of work of in the games outside of wins and losses, I just don't see those 2 teams being in top 10.
Now, I understand your body of work, but let's look at their wins, right? They did beat the LA Raiders week 1. Everybody out there said the LA Raiders, playoff team, win the West, win the Super Bowl. Chargers knock them off. The Carolina Panthers, yes, it was Carolina Panthers, whatever, but it was at Carolina, 1 o'clock game. Tough to play at when your bye's at 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. And then they did go into Mile High Stadium and they beat the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos were playing great at that particular time, right? Bo Nix scored 16 points, the highest score to date, right? And then they beat the Saints. The Saints team that scored 96 points in the first 2 weeks of the NFL season held them to 8 points. The Browns, coming off that Jameis Winston, right? Jameis Winston is here. He's our Super Bowl. He's a receiver. Beat down that Browns team. And then, and the Titans are like, bad babies, come over here. We'll show you how to do it again twice on Sunday. Guys, the Chargers defense is the real deal. Yes, Justin Herbert and the stats of the offense is not wowing you by any stretch of the imagination, but they're controlling the clock, they're controlling the defense, and they're winning games, just like the Kansas City Chiefs. That's why they are a top 10 team. That's why they're the number 9 ranked team in my power rankings, and they are going to make the playoffs. As a 5th seed, they're going to make the playoffs. So you guys are shitting on the Chargers, but
so one legit win gets you in the top 10?
Yeah. Look at the Commanders. One legit win, and they're in the top 10. You wanted to put the Arizona Cardinals up there,
coach, but Chargers are going to Charger at some point, and they're not going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, and that is one of the questions that I saw earlier. Is Casey Morgan, my man, says, how long before the Chargers are how long do the Chargers stay up there? Herbert gets hurt too often, and yes, Herbert does have a history of getting hurt, being injured, ankle issues, right? He has that plantar fasciitis. He's had ankle injuries, right? His lower body has been banged up. But him being a game manager now, handing the ball off to old J.K. Dobbins, right, and let the defense win. Being a game manager has helped Justin Herbert. They're going to continue to get better and better and better. And they will be tested the next 3 weeks when they do play the Bengals on Sunday Night Football. They play the Ravens on Monday Night Football. 2 games we get to see, primetime TV, and then they play the Falcons at Atlanta, another 1 o'clock game. So they are going to be battle tested, and then they do play the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. So we get to see the Chargers a lot in this primetime slot the next 3 weeks. So, guys, let me ask you this question. You guys do not agree that they should be in the top 10 at all. But let's say they do beat the Bengals on Sunday Night Football. Let's say they beat the Ravens on Monday Night Football, but then they lose to the Falcons and lose to the Chiefs. Do you still have them as not a top 10 team? Mark?
So they're going to go 2-4 in the next 4 games.
Yep.
So that would put them at 8-6.
Yeah, that would
2
be
and 2.
Yeah, 8
Can't go
8 and
2
5.
and 4 in 4 games.
But you have to realize they're going to beat the Bengals. They're going to beat the Ravens. Doesn't that beating the Ravens?
Nobody counts out Joe Burrow, dude. They're not going to beat the Bengals. I think the Bengals are going to go on a run.
Okay, so you think if they beat the Bengals, does that solidify them as the top 10 team? Let's just start with 1 week at a time. They beat the Bengals. Are they a top 10 team?
If they consistently do that after beating Cincinnati, yeah.
Hoffy, if they welcome Joe Burrow and the Bengals,
I'm not going to talk what ifs because it's not going to happen.
if what ifs and this had buttholes, everybody
They're
would have
going
it,
to
right?
lose their next 4 games. They're going to lose to the Cincinnati Bengals. They're going to lose to the Ravens. They're going to lose to the Chiefs. And then whoever else was that 4th game, they're going to lose to them too.
They're not going to lose to the Broncos because we all know the Broncos are overrated. But that is besides.
They're going to split this season with the Broncos. They've already beat them once. As much as I want to shit on Mark's Broncos, it's not. They're going to split.
But we usually split with the Chargers, dude. We always usually do. That's what I'm.
Yeah, and you're going to split with the Raiders too. But we won't talk about that.
So my man
Fuck
James.
off, Coffee.
So my man James says Harbaugh and a good quarterback can be dangerous. So Justin Herbert has
So dangerous that
deemed
they're in the bottom of the league in all offensive stats.
right because they like to rush the ball and play defense. Offensive stats will come.
They're in the bottom of all 3
And
stats.
because they have 0 offensive weapons.
They got some weapons.
They got that rookie McConkey or
Yeah,
whatever.
lad.
That guy's a
I
slot
don't-
corner at best. A slot wide receiver at best.
Look at
Your
Cooper
thoughts
Kupp.
are irrelevant. You're a Ponies fan.
But coming in at number 9, guys, I do have the Chargers. They don't like it. You all don't like it. And James is laughing his butt off. He says, Vegas, a playoff team? Hey, I tried to warn you, Las Vegas Raiders fan. I told you guys were going to lose 8 in a row. You all laughed me out of the building. And guess what? Mark, how many games have they lost in a row? Is it 4 games in a row now? 5 games in a row?
I'm loving every minute of it, bro.
I hate to say I told you so. I hate to say you told us so. James says, good God, do not put the 49ers in the top 10. They are destined to choke. It is in Shanahan's blood. And with that being
Yeah,
said,
they're just going to choke in the Super Bowl.
and with that being said,
They have
coming
done
in
that.
at number 5 or number 8 is a team that I have been kind of down on. A team that I've been kind of like, right? A team that took the L on Sunday, and that is the one and only Washington Commanders. The Washington Commanders are sitting at 7-3 on the season, winners 3 of their last 4, when they went on a 4-game winning streak earlier in the season with wins over the Giants, Bengals, Cardinals, and Browns, then losing to the Baltimore Ravens and beating the Panthers, Bears, and Giants, and losing to the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday. Hoffy brought up the point, 1 win gets you in. This is a team that 1 win kind of gets you in, right? It's the whole body of work. But they did lose to the Buccaneers and Ravens so far this season, and now the Steelers, putting them at a 7-3 record, second in the NFC East, and currently 5th in the playoff picture. Mark, when you look at the Washington Commanders, I had them at number 5 last week. I do believe dropped them down 3 spots to number 8 because of the loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. How do you feel about the Commanders being at 8?
I agree with this one, Buck. I do think they should be in the top 10. I wouldn't put them at 8, maybe 10, but I agree with this one.
Why would you have them at 10 when I had them at 5 last week, and you agreed last week of having them at 5, just a loss to the Steelers? why would you drop them down 5 spots to 10?
Because I didn't think they looked good against the Steelers. They had the game wrapped up, and then let the Steelers come back into that game. I don't know. I just wouldn't have put them at number 8.
Okay. Hafi, these are your boys. These are your third team that you root for. Actually, it would be 14 that you root for. You've been kind of high on them, been kind of on their nuts all season long. Number 8, I dropped them down 3 spots. How do you and your boss feel about sitting at number 8?
I'm a little disappointed in the Commanders. Not a Steelers fan. I'm sure we'll get to the Steelers, so I'm going to try to not to contradict myself. But Jaden Daniels only completed 50% of his passes. He averaged less than 6 yards per attempt. He didn't find much room running either. The Steelers played a lot of man coverage. And these past couple weeks, he really hasn't been able to run the ball as much as he was. I'm wondering if, there's film on tape now. Are these defenses kind of catching up to him? Did the Commanders, peak too soon? Did we, buy in on the hype too soon? And as Mark said, they were leading by 10 in the second half, and they just couldn't put that game away. I think this is, something a lot of good teams need to learn, and that's how to put teams away. And until these Commanders learn how to, step on the throat, as a lot of people say, and put, these games away or these good teams away, I think, number 8 is a pretty good spot, but pretty disappointed in it.
Step on the foot on the throat, nail in the coffin. Any type of theory that you want to use, the Commanders could not do it, and that's ultimately why I did drop them down. Not because simply of the loss. If they just would have lost by 1 point, they would have dropped down 3 spots. It was like how they lost, giving up the 10-point lead there. But let's go ahead and jump into the comments here. Mark, your boy Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels might be battling for a Rookie of the Year. Do you think the Washington Commanders, Jaden Daniels, could be Rookie of the Year despite the 50% completion percentage this weekend versus the Pittsburgh Steelers?
I think it's going to be a battle for both of them. I think they're both playing great, dude. It all depends who stays consistent, who throws more touchdowns, whose team looks better at the end of the year. It's all those factors.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Big keyword is if there, right? James says, Washington's a solid young team. They got to beat Philly. So, James, there are 2 things wrong with your statement there. Washington is not a solid team. There's a lot of fundamentally flaws with the Washington Commanders. They have a good defense. They have a good offense. But we saw it once the Pittsburgh Steelers play. They took away the RPO. They took away Jaden Daniels' ability to roll the pocket. He shit himself. It's like, oh my God, what do I do? Secondly, they're a young team. They're not a young team. They are the oldest team in the NFL. The average the average age for the Washington Commanders are 28.6. The next closest, 27.1 years old, right? That defense alone is all over 30, it seems like. They're all old. So they are not young. They're not solid. They are a good team, and they need to beat Philly 100%. That would change the whole narrative about them not playing anybody. But, Hafi, you brought up the point. How can one win get you into the top 10? How about this? How about no wins versus good teams get you at number 8? I mean, really, how do you feel about the Washington Commanders really beating nobody this season, but still being one of the good, solid young teams in the NFL?
I mean, on offense, they're a top 10 team. Their defense is in the middle of the pack. I do think that a lot of these older veterans have been playing pretty well. But that said, it's a 17-game season. Wagner's going to slow down. Some of these, these guys are going to slow down. You can even look at the tight end Ertz, potentially slowing down. I mean, we talk about injury prone. He's another one that seems to always get injured. So, I think that, the Commanders are a solid team. I think they hover right around that top 10. They're most likely one and done in the playoffs, but they are a fun team to watch. And I still think that Jaden Daniels is about as much of a runaway for the Rookie of the Year. I don't think Bo Nix is going to be in that running. I'm not a fan. And that's not because he's a quarterback for the Broncos. I mean, hey, if Drake May had been playing this whole season, I think he would be more likely in that 2 spot than Bo Nix. I mean, he's averaging more yards per game. And we have to look at, the beginning of the season. If you looked at the quarterbacks that went 1 and 2, the Commanders were not a team that anyone thought would be successful. A lot of people were saying that these Bears could be a solid playoff team, even a potential Super Bowl team. So I think that Jaden Daniels, what he's brought to this Commanders, they're definitely overachieving. So I definitely think he should be the Rookie of the Year.
So, Mark, one thing that I want to touch on with like Hoffy said is that the Washington Commanders, if they were to make the playoffs, they would be one and done. If the playoffs were to start today, which they don't, let's just be clear, they do not start today. We have 6-7 more weeks before we even start to make clarity of the picture. But currently, the Washington Commanders are sitting at the 6th seed. They will be playing the 3 seed and the Atlanta Falcons. Can the Washington Commanders beat the Atlanta Falcons in the playoffs if it were to start today?
Maybe, because I'm not totally confident in Kirk Cousins in Atlanta. He's played pretty well, but I still feel like they're still a little shaky. So, yeah, I feel like they could beat Atlanta.
Hoffy, you actually, Mark, I think you were saying that you would put Atlanta Falcons in the top 10, right? Over the Chargers, but they're shaky.
No, I said the Cardinals.
Oh, you said the Cardinals. Okay. What do you say the Falcons? I must be hearing things, but I personally think the Falcons are actually going to miss the playoffs. So I'm just saying, even though they do have an 81% chance of making it, I said they're going to make it.
Who's going to win the South?
No, they're
Panthers?
not. The Buccaneers.
Come on, Buck. Just because your name and the Buccaneers are, in the same freaking name doesn't mean that they're good.
Hey, Hoffy, do you remember last season when I said the Buccaneers were going to make the playoffs and win the South, and you guys were all like, "Oh no, they're not. They're shit. They're terrible. They don't have Tom Brady." What happened? They won a playoff game.
I was on that bandwagon that the Bucs were going to win the South.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying. Many people are saying, "Oh,
who else was going to win it?
They're terrible."
The Panthers?
I don't care. The
Falcons?
Falcons. I don't care. But
With
I said they're going to win a playoff
Riddler?
game, and what they do, they won a playoff game. I'm just saying they won a playoff game, and they actually battled against the Lions. So
they got lucky.
I mean, they got lucky.
And drew one of the most overrated NFC teams in all of history.
Who's
with
that?
One
The
of the
Eagles?
worst
Tampa's going to have to gain some
coaches.
ground, dude, because they're down 2 games to Atlanta to win the South.
Well,
now
the Falcons played up and down to their competition, so it is what it is.
Godwin ain't coming back.
Evans is back.
I mean, good for him. You could double him, and who are they going to throw to after that?
That white boy.
No, they're going to run the ball with Irvin or whatever he is. And yes, I like him, but I think Baker Mayfield is going to, he's going to Baker Mayfield or Jared Goff from this past Sunday, if you want to call it that.
Baker Mayfield being a top 10 quarterback in the league. Laura says, yes, I do like them at number 8. Washington Commanders at sitting at 8 is nice. Derek says, if they would have won, where would they be? They'll say, we'll be at number 5 because the teams above them played just as well. So I don't think they would have gone up. Jim Powell says, I was high on the Commanders, but here are the Eagles in first place. The Eagles have kind of come out of nowhere. Let's just be honest. They were left for dead, and boom, here they are. Mark, we just say it 3 weeks ago. You should we should have them up in the top 10, and and they weren't.
Say that, yes.
And then boom, 2 wins in a row. Bada bing, bada boom. Here we are, right? Jim Powell says Brock Bowers for Rookie of the Year. As much as I would like that for my fantasy team,
Put
Jim,
the whiskey down, bro.
Brock Bowers is not even the best tight end on his team right now. Michael Mayers is back. He's going to take over that number 1 tight end spot. Let's just be honest. Casey Morgan says, young team, couple years they will be great. Once again, guys, the Commanders are not a young team. They are the oldest team in the NFL.
I do think that they have a good quarterback, and they're going to draw young talent, free agents, and they will become a good young team. But yes, to your point, Buck, right now they are an old team. But I think with what the chemistry that they have going, what the coach has built there, and a solid quarterback, I think they will be able to attract free agents. But yes.
So Hoffy, let me ask you this question because I said this on Monday's show that I said this Washington Commanders team reminds me of the New York Giants when Brian Daboll came in there, right? When Brian Daboll came in there, this was deemed a rebuild year, right? They were supposed to be bad. They were supposed to be miserable. They ended up sneaking into the playoff as a wild card. They did beat the Minnesota Vikings that particular season. Since then, they have been crap. Daniel Jones signed a contract. He's been crap. Dayball has been crap. I'm worried about the Washington Commanders because nobody expected them to be as good as they are right now. Can this be a repeat of what we've seen in New York, but in Washington with Dan Quinn and Jaden Daniels?
No, because they have offensive weapons, and Jaden Daniels is way better than the quarterback that the Giants have in Daniel Jones. I mean, I think Scheffler said it today. I mean, Jones probably won't play another snap for the Giants.
Right.
And I don't think anybody was sold on him coming out of college outside of the New York Giants organization. He didn't do anything for he was at North Carolina. You got Jaden Daniels, who was winning, at LSU. So I don't think it's the same thing. I do agree that they both overachieved their first year, but I don't think that they're likely to plummet the way the Giants did.
Mark, you know all about plumbing. You all know about highs and then being really, really low, right? The Manning years remind me that very, very much so. Do you see this in the Commanders at all?
Well, if they get rid of all the old balls on defense, like you say, I think they could be good, and they get some better draft picks in a few more years. They have the young, good quarterback to start this franchise, like with new ownership also. So I could see them changing it around.
I mean, if they got rid of all the old heads, all the old balls, all the long in the tooth guys, they wouldn't have a defense. Let's just call a spade a spade. Hoffy, Jim says he's drinking bourbon. He's drinking bourbon, so it is what it is, and you guys cannot recognize sarcasm. You must be Democrats. For the record, Hoffy does live in Vermont, Massachusetts area, New England area. They are all blue up there, so it would not shock me one bit.
We are not. Nope.
All right, guys. So that is number 8. So just to recap.
New Hampshire.
So far we have number 10, the Minnesota Vikings. Number 9, we have the LA Chargers. Number 8, we do have the Washington Commanders. And then coming in at number 7, we have a team that was on a bye week last week, but they're moving up in the power rankings as everybody else is moving down. And that is the one and only Green Bay Packers. They're on a 4-game winning streak with wins over the Rams, Cardinals, Texans, and Jaguars before dropping.
Again, Buck.
What?
You're fucking with us once again.
What do you mean I'm fucking with you? What are you
No,
talking
I
about?
got this is 7. This is correct.
This guy.
All right.
Whatever. Packers at
Chill,
number
Hop.
7. Jordan Love back healthy coming after the bye week. 6-3. Third in the NFC North. Mark, what do you think about number 7?
I agree with this one. But I was thinking about this today before we did the show. I was like, I know he's gonna have Green Bay on this list, but I really think that they're another one of those teams. Like I said, like Minnesota, I said earlier, that like in my opinion, I think Jordan Love's gonna have a sophomore slump, and he's not really been playing that well for Green Bay. I think their defense is really solid. It's kept them in the games, but he's made a lot of mistakes with interceptions, and their division is tough. And I just see like him not doing as well the rest of the season.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you, Mark. He has been kind of on this Brett Favre sling it, ming it type of situation ever since he has worn that Brett Favre jersey, since he was it Parkinson's disease, I think he announced. But either way, he has definitely been flinging the rock all over the place. Hoffy, what are your thoughts about the Packers being at number 7? Laura is already saying barf. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, because she's part of Skull Nation, so her points are relevant too. Vikings suck. Penalties have really hurt this Packers team. They've had occasional problems stopping the run, and then again, Jordan Love's interceptions have really been, hindering this team. But they have looked like a playoff team most of the season. I do think they're a top 10 team. I think 7 might be as high as I would put them, but I wouldn't argue if they were 8 or 9. So I want to shit on this, on all of your picks because I just don't agree with anything you say, Buck, but I think you might be right on this.
Yeah, and many people are saying that, whoa, they didn't play. How did you move them up? I moved them up because other teams lost. So by default, you got to move them up. And I think the Packers are a solid team. I think Jordan Love injury really did hinder him versus the Detroit Lions. He probably shouldn't have played. I think a healthy Jordan Love would have beat the Detroit Lions that particular week. And I think moving forward, the Packers are going to go on a little bit of a run. Mark, you kind of look confused by my statement there. Like, do you not think the
'Cause I'm-
Packers are
I-
going to make a
I'm
run?
on
I
a
think the
daily
opposite. I think they're gonna go on a skid. I really do. I think Jordan Love's gonna keep throwing it around like he has and throwing more interceptions. And yeah, like I said, the division's tough.
Yeah, and Hoffy, when you look at the schedule moving forward, they do play at the Bears this week. Historically, the last Aaron Rodgers has owned the city of Chicago. He passed the Kings
Just
on
got
to
their
Jordan
asses
Love.
kicked by the Patriots. They might as well just play Malik Willis in that game.
I mean, the Bears do have a new offensive coordinator, potentially bitching Caleb Williams. Do the Bears not have a chance against the Packers, really?
I mean, it's a divisional game, so you can't say that. But yeah, I mean, fuck Brandon Combs, fuck his Bears, fuck Caleb Williams, fuck Eberflus. I mean, I messaged Brandon Combs in like the first quarter, and I was like, "What the hell is this guy doing as your coach? Give him a one-way ticket, home to his parents because he belongs in his parents' basement." But no, I don't think this Bears team is good. I think that the Packers are going to run through them. I do think that they could go on a run. I mean, they in the playoffs last year, they almost beat the 49ers. They played pretty well in those games that counted. And I think that's going to continue. They picked up a workhorse in Jacobs. I don't know that he is better than Jones, but he seems to fit their scheme pretty well for them. So I think they're going to be a pretty solid, wild card team. I don't think they'll catch the Lions, but I think they're a team that could absolutely make noise in the playoffs as a wild card team.
Yeah, I definitely 100% do think they are a wild card team, and they will be battle tested the next four weeks. Past the Bears, they do play a team like the San Francisco 49ers that you guys think should be in the top 10. They're not quite there yet. They play a team in the Miami Dolphins that are making a playoff push, and then they do play the Detroit Lions and Seahawks. So that's a very big playoff implication schedule moving forward. So coming in at number 7, I do have the Green Bay Packers. Casey Morgan is saying, I don't think beating the Jags is a big enough move. Anyone power rankings just saying. They beat the Jaguars 3 weeks ago. Casey and Jordan Love didn't play the whole second half, if I'm not mistaken. The Jaguars are not a bad team. Their offense is terrible. Do not get that twisted. Mac Jones should be the starter 100% for the Jacksonville Jaguars, but the defense is not bad. So it is what it is, and they should have beat the Detroit Lions if Jordan Love was 100%. Hoffy, what are you shaking your head about?
Mac Jones didn't throw a single touchdown pass and threw 2 interceptions this week. You're going to tell me he should be starting quarterback? He
100%.
should be starting quarterback for XFL's worst team.
Even then, he would still be better than Trevor Lawrence.
No. Trevor Lawrence sucks donkey dick, but he's better than Mac Jones.
You know all about sucking of the donkey dick, don't you? Laura says, ouch, but you are not wrong. But skull in your face in the middle fingers, baby. Laura is a Skull Nation. So Laura is also a Falcons fan, Seahawks fan, 49ers fan, Cowboys fan, and Washington Commanders fan too. So do not get that twisted. Just want to put that out there. James Berlin says, not feeling the pack, but they get the 49ers, Saints, and Miami at home. And that's huge. That is huge, right? And he says he thinks he wins all of those games. I agree. Blaine's in the chat says hi.
Green Bay.
Hi. Hi, Blaine. Guys, say hi to Blaine. Say hi, Blaine.
Is that XD Gamer?
No, that's not XD Gamer. James says easy 5 to 6 more wins for the Packers. Easy. Because you got the Vikings, you got the Dolphins, you got the Bears, you got the Saints, you got the Bears again. That's 5 easy wins right there. 5 easy wins over the Vikings for sure. Casey says, you hear old Bears players and pleading for them to bench Caleb Williams. I have heard that. But that's also old heads worried about their jobs. But it is what it is. But coming in at number 7, we do have the old Green Bay Packers. And then sliding in at the number 6 spot, we have a team that Mark D has been riding on for the last few weeks. And I am jumping on that bandwagon as well. This team is 7-2 on the season, winning 5 games in a row, and 6 of their last 7 with wins over the Saints, the Browns, Giants, Bengals, Jaguars, and Cowboys. All dominating wins. And that is the one and only Philadelphia Eagles. Mark, I do have the Philadelphia Eagles sitting at 6 seed. I think they are going to win the NFC East, and I think they're going to make some noise in the playoff as well. they could be a team to upset the Detroit Lions or a team like the Atlanta Falcons. What do you think about the Eagles sitting at number 6?
And see, I like this one. Like I said many weeks ago, that they should have been on the power rankings and they weren't. And now they're finally getting their just due. They've played really well. They've beat a bunch of good teams. I think Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts finally got their beef or whatever was going on. They finally got it figured out, and I think they're playing better since that happened. And, you know, if they keep this going, I think they have one of the best rosters in the league. I think they could roll.
So, Hoffy, you heard that they beat some pretty good teams from Mark's mouth, right? The teams that they have beaten this season are the Green Bay Packers in Brazil opening week. They've beaten the Saints, Browns, Giants, Bengals, Jaguars, and Cowboys. You have been kind of adamant all night long. They've only played one team, but how can you be in the top 10, right? Honestly, the Eagles really haven't played anybody. They've won 5 of their last 6, and they really haven't played anybody. But how do you feel about them sitting at number 6?
You played to win the game.
You played
no.
to win the game.
The Eagles have now secured 5 straight wins since their bye week in week 5. They've outgained their opponents by more than 100 yards in each of those games. So, I mean, they've really, beaten those not so great teams. It's not just, squeaking by kind of thing. They've also scored 20-plus points through the win streak. They've allowed more than 17 points only once during that. However, they are feasting on lesser teams. Will they deliver against better teams? We'll find out. I would love to come on here and shit on the Eagles and Nick Sirianni because I'm not a fan, but I did spend this past week in the city of brotherly love. I did get me some brotherly love from some Philadelphia people. I met some pretty awesome people. They were pretty chill. So I'm going to try to not have them come after me. So I'm going to allow, this number 6 ranking to be justified by you, Buck.
So we all are kind of in agreement that 6 for the Philadelphia Eagles is kind of correct, right? Kind of spot on. And that's
actually, I disagree.
So where should they be?
They
higher?
should be up one. They should be one spot because this number 5 team is absolute shit.
Yeah, and speaking of the number 5 team, is the best team in the AFC right now. I'm kidding, but they are coming up. They're coming up. They're 7-2 on the season, winning 4 games in a row over the Raiders, Jets, Giants, and most recently the Washington Commanders. And that is the one and only Pittsburgh Steelers. Mark, the Pittsburgh Steelers have won 4 games in a row. Insert Russell Wilson. You know all about Russ. You love you some Russell Wilson, man, and he is playing at a elite level. No, he's playing above average level now. But the Pittsburgh Steelers added Mike Williams. They added Preston Smith, and their defense is getting better and better and better. I have them at number 5, but they can easily be a top 3 team after this week. What do you think about the Steelers being at number 5, Mark?
Get them.
Well, you know how I feel about Russ.
Greatness, baby.
And, okay, it just really pisses me off that it's like, how come we couldn't get a decent Russ like this? Granted, his stats were decent like this, but basically, the Steelers, this is what they're doing. They're not letting Russ get out of his own way. Tomlin is, like, basically shutting down all his bullshit, all his drama. Like, he's making he doesn't have some cheesy saying this year. He's kind of holding them in line, and I think that's what's succeeding with them is keeping Russ in place.
So keeping Russ in place, a.k.a. being above average quarterback, which that's all the Pittsburgh Steelers need, and that's why they're a top 10 team. Hoffy, you don't like this, and why?
Do you remember 2020?
Did something happen in 2020? I can't remember.
Yeah, the Steelers started off, 11-0 before losing 4 of their last 5 games and then got smacked in the first game of the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, this Steelers team reminds me a lot of the 2020 Steelers. They were shaky throughout the game against the Commanders. Russell Wilson only finished with 50% completion percentage, 195 yards. They allowed 2 touchdown drives, a touchdown drive immediately before halftime and then coming out of halftime. I don't think that this team is I think they're overperforming their actual talent, and I think we're going to see that this coming week when they face off against the Baltimore Ravens.
So when you say overperforming their talent, mean they're playing above what we think we can expect from them? Is that what you're saying?
I just think that their record of 7, what are they, 7-2?
7-2. Yep.
I think that I don't think they're a 7-2 team. And I think that they're going to, come down to earth, much like
I
they
gotta
did in
agree with Hoff on
2020.
that for sure.
They lost 4 of their last 5. I could see them easily going. Mike Tomlin is a good coach, and that is going to get you wins. But a coach can only buy you so many wins. So, do they make a wild card, spot? I don't doubt it. I think that the AFC is pretty weak as far as the records. I think a lot of the teams, in the NFL aren't really that good. I think there's really only, I would say, 4 legit teams right now. And I could see, try to be a homer, a team like the 49ers getting healthy, not having Ayuk, I think is going to hurt, but I think that the teams that you probably have in your top 4 are the clear favorite top 4 teams. And I don't think any of these other teams are really going to matter when it's all said and done.
Yeah, spoiler alert, I do have the San Francisco 49ers in the Super Bowl. And when we look at the AFC, Mark, I think there's 6 locks in the playoffs. That's the Chiefs, Bills, Steelers, Texans, Ravens, and Chargers with that 7th spot open. When you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, you said that you guys think they're going to come back down to earth. Yes, they do have a tough back half of the schedule, right? They
I was just gonna say that.
Like they play what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 division games in 7 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I mean, like it is going to be a gauntlet of a schedule. But with that being said, they are 7-2. This is right where I wanted them to be going into this gauntlet of a schedule to end the season. Because even if they win 3 more games, that's still going to probably win the division with that 10 or 11 wins. Mark, can you see this team jumping the Ravens this week when they do beat them at home when they play the Baltimore Ravens? Can you see the Pittsburgh Steelers being a lock in the AFC North and being a lock in the playoffs?
No, man. I'm with Hoff. I think they're gonna come down to earth. The gauntlet of the schedule is coming up. I don't even see them winning. Maybe two of those next 7 that they play.
And spoiler alert: 2 wins is 9 wins on the season. That is going to be good enough to make the playoffs. And then you don't want to play this team in the playoffs. I'm just saying. Defense travels.
You think 9 and 7 is good enough to make the playoffs in the AFC?
100%. You have those 6 locks.
9 and 8.
9 and 8.
Yeah.
Yes, correction.
I mean, honestly, the 7th seed is probably going to be a losing record team. Like the Denver Broncos, a losing record team. Like the Miami Dolphins, going to be a losing record team. There's going to be an 8-9 team slide into the AFC playoff picture. I think so. Definitely going to be there. So let's jump over here into the comments to see what the people are saying. James asked the question: does the Pittsburgh Steelers jump Buffalo and sniff the number 2 spot if they beat Baltimore this week? This is all hypothetical. It is all depends on how the other top teams perform. Do the Bills, outperform, right? Do the Chiefs? I mean, obviously the Chiefs and Bills play this week, so somebody's going to probably drop down. And if they beat the Ravens, obviously they're going to drop down. So it all depends on how the Bills and Chiefs game comes out to, right? How that game looks.
You really think the Steelers are going to beat Lamar and Derrick Henry? No, man, come on.
Why not?
I don't know.
Have you seen the Ravens defense?
Steelers defense ain't that good.
Steelers defense is better than the Ravens, and the offense are evil. I'm saying.
What?
The
offense is even.
Mike Williams adds that X factor.
Dude, we're talking about Lamar Jackson, who is putting up better MVP numbers than he did his MVP season. They're going to be naming the MVP trophy after Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
They have a top 5 offense.
Don't forget about King Henry, man. That guy's killing it, just bulldozing over everybody.
They're not even giving him the rock yet. Come playoff time, you feed him the rock. I mean,
that's not going to happen. Have you met the Ravens? They don't run the game, run the ball in the postseason.
They're saving it, all right? They're a changed man. You know, a wife can change you, Buck. You know that all too well. And I think even Mark can touch on this. I mean,
Yes.
a wife can make a bad man a really good man.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, Henry is going to turn that team around, and he is going to lead them to the promised land.
Once Lamar Jackson finds that cocaine
AFC
and some white
Championship
women,
loss.
Oh,
is
come
what
on,
it
don't
is.
put that on him, Buck.
white women does that to you. Laura says, I ain't mad about the Steelers being there. I ain't mad. Number 5's nice. Number 5's really, really nice. Laura, you are spot on. So, guys, just to recap what we have so far, coming in at number 10, we do have the Minnesota Vikings. Put some respect on their name. Number 9, we do have the LA Chargers. Bada bing, bada boom, bada bing, bada boom. Number 8, we do have the Washington Commanders. Sitting at number 7, we have the one and only Green Bay Packers. Starting to put some respect on their name as well. Coming in at number 6 are the Philadelphia Eagles, flying high, one of the hottest teams in the NFC. Coming in at number 5, we do have the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then coming in at number 4, winners of 7 of their last 8, fresh off the Bengals win 35-34, and that is Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. The best offense in the NFL, sitting at 7-3 on the season, but second in the AFC North. Mark, what do you think about the Ravens sitting at number 4, unchanged from last week?
I think this is a perfect ranking, like you said, like Hoff said earlier. The teams that you have in the top 4, they could be interchanged. I think they're all like going to be fighting for it at the end. So yeah, I agree with this one.
Hoffy, don't agree with Mark. What do you think?
I
You got to
mean,
find a way to disagree.
I mean, I said it. Lamar is, somehow playing better than he did in his 2023 MVP season. However, this defense is nowhere close to the stellar unit that Baltimore fielded a year ago or fields every single year, if we're being honest. I mean, I don't want to spoil the top 3, but I think you could argue between Baltimore and one other team that is more than likely ahead of them. And that's just because of the fact that they beat the brakes off of them. But the Baltimore Ravens do have one really bad loss in the Las Vegas Raiders. I don't think that that's kind of saying something. But I think that, again, we talked about the top 4 teams. This is one of them, and I think they're clear cut above 5 and the rest of the team. So you could have them at probably number 3. 3 or 4, I think, is where they need to be. I think I would have them at 3 just because I would go head to head. I know they have one more loss than the Bills, but I would still rank them in front of the Bills just based off of head to head.
Yeah, and they did give up not one, but 2 10-point leads to the Raiders. Also, Mark, they have a loss to the Cleveland Browns as well. But
that's a divisional game. I mean,
it's still the Browns. No starting quarterback. Nick Chubb was still out at the time, right? No Amari Cooper. Browns are not good right now. I'm just saying.
I'm going to give you a half Chubb.
Give you a half Chubb. Mark, is there any way that the Baltimore Ravens can drop out of the top 10 if they lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers this weekend? You're on mute, rookie.
Yes, if they lose to the Steelers, I would drop them out of top 5 because they shouldn't lose to the Steelers.
He said top 10.
Top 10.
Okay, no, they shouldn't. No, if they lose it, no. That's just the Steelers. That's a division game. Steelers are playing good this year. I wouldn't say that.
All right. So, guys,
we can't talk hypothetical what ifs because it ain't going to happen.
So you got, like, we're all kind of in agreement. Ravens at number 4, and Casey says Ravens lost toe to the Browns. Enough said.
Jameis.
Yeah. The Ravens have a lot of close losses, right? The ball has not been bouncing their way. Laura says, all I got to say is go purple. Now she's a Ravens fan. Good Lord. Laura, how many teams you got? Somebody get this girl another closet. Jeez, she has so many freaking jerseys. And Casey says Ravens are 2-4 in Lamar Jackson in the postseason. Enough said.
But we're not basing the power rankings off of their previous playoff record. We're basing it off of these week 1 through 11.
You know what we should base it off is MVP. And James says Saquon Barkley is more the MVP than Derrick Henry is.
But we've never said Henry was the MVP.
I said that.
We're talking about Lamar Jackson as the MVP.
I said Lamar.
That,
I said Derrick Henry is more of the MVP than Lamar Jackson.
You're just speaking shit out your mouth, just like.
Can we
Mark
have an
Jackson
MVP that's
speaks
not a
his game.
quarterback for once? That's all I gotta say.
And that would be T.J. Watt.
Bobby Wagner.
No way.
Come on, a running back, dude. Henry or Barkley would be cool.
Derek says, "Can you share that Kool-Aid?" No. No. Why would we share our Kool-Aid?
Cheers.
That's just weird. That's just weird. But coming in at number 4, we do have the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the number 3 team. This team is 8-2 on the season. They have won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games in a row and first in the AFC East. They are currently second in the AFC playoff picture, and that is the one and only Buffalo Bills. They do have a great showdown versus the Kansas City Chiefs this weekend, and that might be the battle of prestige in the AFC. Mark, when you see the Buffalo Bills coming in at number 3, what are your first initial thoughts?
I like it. I think they have played really well. Like I've told you many times, I think Josh Allen he's fighting for MVP this year. I think he hasn't really got those votes, but I think he's going to get the votes this year. The dude's just absolutely balling out, especially if he beats Mahomes, he beats Lamar. You never know.
So, Hoffy, we have been kind of
He
saying
hasn't
that
beaten Lamar though.
I meant in the playoffs.
Oh.
now we've all been kind of saying that you can interchange the top 4 any way you want. I have the Ravens at 4, the Buffalo Bills at number 3. Hoffy, you are from that area, and you love you some Buffalo Bills. You love some snow games. What do you think about the Buffalo Bills being at number 3? Oh, sorry, you're a Miami Dolphins fan. My bad.
See, this is why I would have flip-flopped the Bills with the Ravens. Last week, Josh Allen threw 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He had an ugly performance. He did have some MVP moments throughout that game, but just a pretty poor performance, I thought. So that's why I kind of would have bumped and again, the Ravens having that head-to-head is why I would have bumped them into the 3 and moved the Bills to the 4 spot. Josh Allen is not going to beat Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs this week if he plays like he did this past week. I think he's going to have to play a flawless game, no interceptions, in order to beat this Chiefs team, even though I think this Chiefs are the most vulnerable that the Chiefs have ever been. There's still until they get beat. I mean, they're the immortal Chiefs. And I do think that regardless of how they're playing, that is the Chiefs, when they get to big games, such as a game like this against a team that's trying to come for that, top spot, they're going to show up. You're going to get the best out of Kelsey. You're going to get the best out of Mahomes. Pacheco's coming back, potentially, I believe. So it's going to be a tough task for this Buffalo Bills team. But yeah, I mean, number 3, number 4, that's where they belong. And to be honest, I mean, depending on how this game goes against the Chiefs, win or lose, if they win, they got to be bumped up. But if they lose, I think you'd still should keep them in the top 5, as long as it's a close game. They lose by 20 plus, different story. But if it's a 1-score game, I think that they would be a team that I would still keep in the top 5 with how they've been playing this year.
So, Mark, many people over here on youtube.com/manhour are pointing the fact out that the Buffalo Bills lost to the Baltimore Ravens back on week 4, 35-10, and that's why they should be ranked above them. That's why 4 and 3 should be flipped. I am justifying that I think the Buffalo Bills are playing better football than the Baltimore Ravens right now. And since then, the Buffalo Bills have kind of gone on a streak and they kind of gotten a better team with the addition of Amari Cooper. Then they're saying that, hey, the Baltimore Ravens, they added Deontay Johnson.
Who hasn't done much.
So, like, they already had the best offense in the NFL. The issue with the Ravens is the defense. So, do you agree with like me having the Buffalo Bills at number 3 and the Baltimore Ravens at number 4? And do you agree with the people saying that they should be flip-flopped?
No, I agree. I think I think the Bills should be 3. Like you said, granted they did lose to Baltimore, but that was weeks ago. That was before Baltimore struggled against the Browns, and then they struggled against the Raiders. I mean, the Bills have been on a hot streak. granted, like Hoff said, Josh Allen didn't play well last week, and they still won the game. That just shows you how awesome he is, and like a guy can will his team to win any Sunday.
Hoffy, another point that they're pointing out over here on YouTube is that the Buffalo Bills have not played anybody. They barely beat the Jets 23-20. They beat the Titans. They beat the Seahawks 31-10. They beat the Miami Dolphins, and then they beat the Colts. When you look at the Buffalo's wins, besides those 5, they have wins over the Jaguars, the Dolphins, and Cardinals. They're saying they shouldn't even be a top 5 team, let alone number 3. Should we drop them down to past 5, 6, 7, even though they're winning?
No, the Jets game was a close game, but the Jets game is also a divisional game. I mean, those teams are going to play each other well. They match up pretty well, regardless of what you think as far as the level of skill that the Jets are. But everybody else they've beaten pretty handedly. The Dolphins was a close game, again a division game, but the Titans 34-10, not a divisional game. They lost to the Texans by 3 points. They lost to the Ravens. That was a tough one, but they beat, the Jaguars by 37 points. They beat the Dolphins the first time they played by 21 points. And that was with Tua in the game at that point too. And week 1 against the Cardinals, they won by 6. So they've beaten the teams pretty handedly. And divisional games are always tough.
Yeah. Sorry.
So I don't put much stock in that.
Yeah, and I want to point out that these are fluid power rankings, right? Just because you were number 6 last week doesn't mean by default you were number 6. I think I change them every week. I'm like, hey, this team right now, this week going into week 12 is the 3rd best team in the NFL, and I think that's right where they should be at. So I do have the Buffalo Bills coming in at number 3. I think I answered everybody's comments down there in the chat below. But this is time where people are going to be pissed off. This is a time where people are going to be like, what? Buck, are you drunk? Are you high? You stupid clown. This. And I had the Detroit Lions coming in at number 2. Yes, they are winners of 7 games in a row. Yes, they did come back from 16 points down to beat the Houston Texans on Sunday Night Football with 5 interceptions from Jared Goff. But I do have the Detroit Lions dropping down from number 1 to number 2 this week because I think we're starting to see the flaws in the Detroit Lions, and we know how to beat them now. Mark, what are your thoughts about the Detroit Lions being number 2?
I kind of had mixed feelings about it because they didn't look great against Houston in that first half, but then they soared back and they won. I was really surprised they did that. I was surprised they had that in them to do that, especially after all the interceptions that Goff threw. So it really showed, as they say, their grit. So I thought, and then the way Kansas City played against us. Sorry, I don't want to blow away your power rankings, but we all know they're going to be number 1, and they didn't play great against my Broncos. Like, we had the chance to win, and our special teams blew it, and they blocked the kick, and game over. So I think this is perfect where they should be.
So spoiler alert, they are number 1, right? But the reason why I dropped the Detroit Lions down was because they did not come out and win that game in the second half. Legitimately, the Houston Texans put it on a silver platter and gave it to them 100%. If the Texans make one play here, one play there, we're having a totally different conversation. So, Hoffy, how do you feel about the Lions dropping down to number 2?
I don't like it. I was pretty pumped last week when you flip-flopped the Chiefs and the Lions and had the Lions at number 1. I said, finally, you've done something correct. Dan Campbell did say it best, as he often does. When it's not your day and you can still win, that's the sign of a good football team. And to be honest, if we look at both the number 1 ranked team, which, spoiler alert, is the Chiefs, as you said, and you look at the number 2 Lions, both teams played pretty poorly. Both teams were able to, squeak away wins. You could say that the Chiefs shouldn't have gotten that win. They got lucky on that block kick. You could say the Lions got lucky. But if we look at body of work against, those 2 teams, the Broncos suck. They're not in the top 15. And you had the Texans at number 6 last week in the power rankings. And I think they could still potentially be in the top 10 of some people's power rankings. I think that, they shouldn't. I think you did it right this week in not having them in the top 10. But coming into this week, they were a top 10 team. And I just think that the Lions beating a top 10 team and struggling, rather than the Chiefs beating a Denver Broncos team that is not as good as the Texans, doesn't warrant you flipping the Chiefs back to number one. But to contradict my last argument with the Bills and people saying that they barely beat the Jets, it was a divisional game. Those divisional games are always tough. But I still think the Lions should be number one because the Lions are going to beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
So the whole point of this power ranking show is to defend my picks, right? Is to defend why I put teams where I put them, right? And to be honest, the reason why I moved the Detroit Lions down is because they have been blowing out teams, right? Let's just be flat honest. They have been playing great football the previous 6-7 weeks. Sunday Night Football, they did not play a good game, right? Dan Campbell said, "Hey, when you play bad and you still win, that's a sign of a great team." Guys, tell me one game that the Kansas City Chiefs have played great so far this season. Give me one game. Can't think of any, right?
You're right.
They have not played a complete game all 60 minutes. They've had spurts of 16 minutes here, 4 minutes here, a great 16-minute drive here, but they have yet to put together a complete game. Once the Chiefs
so how does squeaking out wins make you better than a team that blows everybody else out and then has one?
Because they are squeaking out, because they haven't put a complete game yet together. Once they put a complete game together, they're going to show you how dominant they are, and that is why the Kansas City Chiefs are the number one team in this week's power rankings. It's because I did bump them down last week, and I think that was just because of I was buying into what people were saying. I was buying into the Lions beating the Titans by 52 points, right? I was buying them into beating the Packers and scoring 47 on the Cowboys and 42 like on the Seahawks. I was buying into all that hype and high flying offense. But the point of the matter is the defense is giving up a lot of points. 14, 29, 29. They're giving up points. The Kansas City Chiefs have a great defense, a hell of a lot better defense than the Detroit Lions. And the fact that they have not played a complete game yet, full 60 minutes, that's why the Kansas City Chiefs are the best team in the NFL. Mark, what are your initial thoughts when I moved the Kansas City Chiefs back up to number one?
Like I said, I had mixed emotions. I think you could swap them and Detroit. I think they're both really good teams. They both are teams that find ways to win, even through adversity, like they have this whole season. So yeah, I think they should be number one, but I think this week them playing Buffalo in Buffalo is going to be a real test, and they might not be number one next week if Buffalo wins.
Yeah, and I can tell you guys that I am already picking the Buffalo Bills to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I think it is just Josh Allen and the Bills always play the Chiefs well in the regular season. Let's not worry about the playoffs because 13 seconds that the Buffalo Bills do not forget to play football. Hoffy, I kind of know your opinion on the Chiefs, and I see people are saying, I pray to the football gods that the Lions can meet the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I can come back here and give Buck shit. Many people are picking the Chiefs versus Lions Super Bowl. So Hoffy, when you first
Bills,
saw
Lions, baby.
When you first saw my text message putting the Chiefs at number one, what did you initially think? You're like, Homer.
I threw my phone through a window, so I need to go to Apple Store tomorrow and get a new phone.
Another one.
Team iPhone,
Another
baby.
one.
Another one.
I mean, like I said, you can't really fault either of the two teams being at. This is just as you can't really fault the number 3 or the number 4 being where they're at. You can't really fault the one or the two. I think the Detroit Lions are playing a better brand of football than what the Chiefs are. If we go off of body of work and what the two teams are putting on the field, I think that the Detroit Lions are putting a better product on the field than what the Chiefs are, despite, the Chiefs being undefeated. So I guess to each their own. It's going to go off of what their criteria is. My criteria would have the Lions at number 1 and the Chiefs at number 2, but we're going to find out this week how legitimate the Chiefs really are.
So, Mark, over here on YouTube Shorts, many people are saying that the Kansas City Chiefs are not even a top 10 team. They have yet to put a complete game. They have yet to blow any teams out. And my man Jay said that Mahomes has never beat Jared Goff. When you say Chiefs shouldn't be in the top 10, can you give them any reason why the Chiefs should not be a top 10 team? Like, let's just be honest.
No, man. Granted, the whole reason why they are number one is because they haven't played the greatest. Travis Kelce hasn't looked like Travis Kelce. Mahomes hasn't looked like MVP Mahomes. And they're struggling on offense. Granted, their defense is stout, but they're eking by on these games. And that's why they're number one, is because they find a way to win. And that's what championship teams do. I hate to fucking say that because it's the Chiefs, but yes, it's true.
Yeah, they are a championship caliber team, back-to-back Super Bowls, 3-peat pending. So Laura has a question for all three of us, and I'm assuming this means the Detroit Lions and versus the Kansas City Chiefs. But she says, my question is for all three of you. If they were both to play, meaning the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Detroit Lions on a neutral site going into Week 12, who would come out on top? Mark, who would you have?
I'm going Detroit because they're like Hoff said, they've been blowing out teams. They look more the part right now than Kansas City does.
Okay, Hoffy.
My question, I got a rebuttal. Is this a Super Bowl matchup or is this a regular season matchup?
That's a great point. Let's say just for series stakes, this is a Super Bowl matchup.
To be the best, you got to beat the best. And I'm rolling with the best until he's not the best. And that's hard for me to say.
Never go against Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. Hoffy, I think you picked
unless
it's against Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
Yeah. Or Joe Burrow, right? But that is a perfect question, Hoffy, because playoffs, Kansas City Chiefs are unbeatable. Right now, they are very unbeatable.
Jared Goff
Not
too.
this year.
But if it is a regular season week 12 game, let's say it's a neutral site for whatever. Let's say they're playing over in England or some crap like that, or Brazil. I personally would think the Lions would win as well because it's a neutral game, and Kansas City Chiefs are 9-0, and they don't really care, right? Playoffs, baby, playoffs.
At least Patrick Mahomes was able to put up a touchdown in the Super Bowl versus Brady, unlike Jared Goff, who was only able to muster up 3 points with that Los Angeles Rams offense against the Patriots in that Super Bowl that they last played. So,
very, very true. All right, guys, that is going to be it for tonight. But just to recap the power rankings before we let you guys go, number 10, we do have the Minnesota Vikings. Number 9, the LA Chargers. Coming in at number 8, we do have the Washington Commanders. Number 7, Green Bay Packers. Number 6, the Philadelphia Eagles. Number 5, Hoffy's team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's roll, baby. Here we go.
Shit.
Number 4, the Baltimore Ravens. Number 3, we do have the Buffalo Bills. Number 2, dropping down one spot, the Detroit Lions. And, of course, the best team in the NFL are the Kansas City Chiefs. Let me know what you guys think about those power rankings. Mark, send us out, big guy.
I hope everybody has a good weekend this Sunday. Everybody comes check us out on Saturday night after hours. So let us hear our breakdown.
All right, guys, we out.